going, guys? I'm working on a Rolair GX200 compressor right here. We came to a couple problems here, and I want to go over, maybe you guys have the same problem. Basically, I went ahead, so the compressor wasn't starting. It was starting really bad, and it would take a long time for it to start in general. So I was guessing the carburetor was gonna go, went out. So I bought a whole kit and I switched a whole kit on it. So we did a new carburetor, whole system in here. We put a brand new carburetor. I switched the line for the spark plug, put a new spark plug inside here. We went ahead, we even changed the switch and the connectors on all the switches. And regardless, this compressor was having an issue. Basically, I went ahead though and I did an oil change and I fully serviced this compressor, but it was still having trouble starting up. So what I noticed was as soon as you would take off the belt over here, we'd take off the belt, the compressor would start, and it would start fairly easy after I put a new carburetor on it. And when I came down to, I did a little research, and this, you might have this common problem. Basically, it just does not want to start, even though you switched a new carburetor, you did a bunch of maintenance, changed the fuel filters. I mean, thinking you're having a fuel problem at the same time, which could have been one of the problems at the same time, but yet still, you're having trouble starting it, and especially on cold start at the same time. Basically, what I did is right here, there are 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. You take this cover off and you have these rockers. So let's see if I can show you. All right, so you take this cover off. It's a little hot because I just started the compressor. Basically, you have these rockers in here. These rockers have to have a valve clearance in between this part and that part. And if it doesn't have a clearance where it's moving a little, it has a little wiggle room, and if they're stuck or they're way too loose, one of these, so then the motor's not going to have air to get it to go starting. And to do that, you want to go ahead and you use one of these. They're a valve adjustment tool. I used a 0.020 on this one and on both rockers. So basically, see how I'm going to slid this right through, and it goes in just like this. And this is what exactly you're supposed to have. You're supposed to be able to slide this through and have a valve clearance through there. So what you do is, if you have one of these and you put it under here and you can't get it under like that, you can't get it under there, you know, then you need to have an adjustment done. You loosen this one and you loosen this one and you loosen it, so you can have this regular and move, and then you can stick this thing under here. You don't want to have it too loose, but you don't want to have it too tight. As soon as you stick it under there, you use this 14 millimeter one, you tighten it a little bit until you can, not too tight, and then you tighten this 10 millimeter at the same time. So when you're adjusting it, because you're having it under there, you're tightening the screw so this rocker piece it stays in that position. And same thing when you're doing this side now. See how that one's a little more laying down and this one's more up? What you do is you grab this, and if you watch it, when I pull it, it's gonna move. See how it moved? That one went down and the other one went up. And now you do the same thing. You grab your 0.020 under here and you stick it under there just like that, and you have to have a clearance in between those two. And the same thing, and if it's too tight or it's way too loose, you unscrew this 10 millimeter first, and then you do the 14. You untwist it, and then you get it for the nice valve clearance right here. And if you have that done, the compressor should start fairly easy after that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put at least a bolt on to show you guys what I mean, because so now if I'm gonna go ahead and try to start this compressor now, it should fairly easy start. Make sure we got it on, and I always like to make sure there's no air in the tank when you start these compressors. Easy as that. So guys, that's how basically what I found a problem with this compressor. Like I said, I did a kind of full service on it. I changed the spark plug, I changed the cord that goes into it, the new carburetor, the wire that goes onto the on and starts the fuel filters. We cleaned out the fuel system out of the whole tank, actually put fresh fuel, because I was thinking maybe it would have could be caused by the fuel, which, you know, it could have at the same time, because this compressor has sat in for a long time, by what the customer has told me, and it was having a lot more troubles. As soon as we put a new fresh fuel in there, I was able to start it, but it was really hard to get it started. That was the biggest problem, and the only way it would start easily was only if I was taking the belt off. And as soon as I take the belt off, it was a lot easier to get it started. And I dug into deeply, and I decided I'm going to do a little valve adjustment on it. And I saw that they were a little too tight, and one was a little too loose, so it was not regulated at what it was supposed to be. So when I did that valve adjustment, honestly, the first couple pulls it started, and now when I just showed you again in the video, it was a first pull, it started. The run-on adapter turned on at 120 psi. It was working properly. When I released the valve to reduce the air, the compressor turned back on, and the run-on it started going at faster RPMs, so it was working properly. So there we go, we figured that problem out. I hope that helped you guys, that maybe you guys have the same problem with that at the same time. I don't know, but if you're having that same exact problem, I would recommend at the same time, maybe even before replacing the carburetor, maybe check the valve adjustment on there. Make sure you have enough valve clearance in between the rockers, because it can mess a lot with it at the same time. All right guys, well, if you guys want more videos, let me know. I'm gonna try to create more, show you guys more tips and tricks on these compressors and other tools at the same time. You guys go ahead and follow and subscribe to my channel.